Okay, guys, we're going to go ahead and get started. I greatly appreciate all of your patience this evening. It was quite an adventure with YouTube, and it would not let us restart the video, end the video, or do anything. So got a nice 2-minute clip of everybody laughing that hopefully we can delete later, but that's 2020, 2021, right? So I just wanted you guys to be aware we are recording this session so that I can send it out to all the families who are missing. We had about 500 people signed up. And so I want to make sure that I can get the session out to them today. And so once we get started, if you could actually turn off your videos so that there's not as other people are joining us, that way there's not a lag time. And it really will keep from slowing everything down. And then this is great actually, because we can actually have some conversation here in a little bit. And I just ask that if you could hold your question, we'll stop every once in a while and ask for questions. And so if you could kind of just either put your question in the chat or hold on to it until we get to one of those stopping points, it'll help us go a little bit smoother. But again, those of you just joining on, we really appreciate you, your patience, and we are going to be recording this tonight. So Miss Christina Henninger, I'm going to let you do introductions.
Thank you. Hey guys, I'm the special ed parent liaison for Keller ISD. You saw my guy, he popped in here for a second. 2021 is, we're still under the curse, I guess. I don't know, but we're so happy you guys are here. Thanks for being flexible. We have our wonderful presenters back today. We've got the Joneses, Jody and Alicia. And, you know, as we talked about last time, Jody is a licensed counselor and he works at a practice where he's constantly using these techniques and these strategies, not only with his patients, but also with his family. And that gorgeous lady next to him is Alicia, and she is a teacher within our district in Keller ISD. She's worked in the special ed department for a very long time, and she has done several different roles. So, and she is my son's teacher. So we are very happy to have the Joneses back with us tonight with all of their expertise. Not only are they experts within their fields, but they're also parents of children, and children that they've witnessed struggling. And so their accounts are firsthand, and their advice comes from a place of knowledge and empathy and compassion. And so I'm very excited to hear all the wonderful tips we'll hear tonight. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Yeah, thanks for being here. Tonight is really probably 95% me sharing from a clinical perspective. For those of you who weren't here for part one, I would encourage you to go watch it. It was more, a little bit more of our story. I'll touch on that a little bit. Alicia shared a lot more, and it was more from a, how can you as parents navigate life at this time better, what tools can you use and things of that nature. So I would encourage you to go there and listen to that if you didn't already participate in that. Tonight we're going to talk about tools that are valuable for the student. And I know that I don't really know exactly who's going to watch this or who is watching. I don't know any of you guys. So I'm going to kind of come at it. Probably I'll bounce back and forth whether I'm speaking to students or I'm speaking to parents, but know that the majority of these are tools that are geared towards helping the student. However, spoiler alert, you'll find that they're valuable for you as well, but we're going to focus on how your student can benefit. So I, as a father, touch on a little bit just so you kind of know where we're coming from. Christina mentioned it, but our daughter, now 20, son's 24, our daughter struggled with a number of things growing up through elementary school, through middle school, and this journey became ours together that we navigated. There were many things that we didn't know that we learned through this process. And so we wanted to provide those and make those available to people that maybe are a few years behind us or several years behind us, and just share those from a personal standpoint of empathy and compassion, because we know how challenging it can be. We know how difficult it is. Anyone in your family is struggling, whether it be you or your child. And so we learned some things, and then now from a clinical perspective, I'm able to share. My wife from a teacher perspective is able to share. So these are some tools that we're going to give you today to kind of just put in your toolbox and have at your discretion. And again, if it works for your family, you know, we've got a whole gamut of personalities out there. And so I don't know. I want you to receive these and go, you know what, this one works, this one doesn't. It's just something to be aware of. I'm going to take this and tweak it a little bit or do this, just things for you to gather. And as we talked about last time, this is the E of explore opportunities and options that you have out there. So, all right. Before I just talk too much at the beginning, let me share my PowerPoint. And that will be the majority of what we view today. Move the people up here because I have a tendency to not look where I'm supposed to be looking. All right, so let's do this. You're going to see 5 things today that I've allocated starting with the letter B. No reason for that other than the fact that I like to organize things, and today I've decided to organize them starting with the letter B. So we're going to start with brain. And the reason I start with brain is because I really want to communicate a mindset of brain awareness. You know, I know that I was, and I think that probably many of you were, you learn that kind of your brain is your brain. It was either, you know, the curse or the blessing of genetics, and you have what you have, and it is what it is, and you got to deal with it, and so forth. The reality of it is that our brain is it's an organ like other parts of our body, to where we have the opportunity and the responsibility to nourish it, to grow it, to develop it. It is a developing system that can go in, you know, a couple of different directions. Honestly, I often use these little diagrams in my office, and they're just 2 brain diagrams, but I look at this and I go, you know, this is like one of those little squishy things, and it's pink, and it just looks good, you know, because it's a healthy brain. And then this is a little Halloweeny thing that's not a real healthy brain. You know, you see seams and the coloring's really kind of bad on it. So it just gives you a picture of, we have the choice to grow our brains and nourish it and develop it. And I just want to create that mindset of brain awareness for us not to neglect that reality and pay attention to how we feed it, how we nourish it, and what we're developing it into. Many times when I work with adults, we're really going back and looking at your childhood, this family of origin conversation about, what did your brain learn? How did it understand how to do life? How did it understand how to deal with things and how to process things and how to respond to things? And so this developmental process is going on right now in your brain as a student. This is what's happening right now. And so for you to be aware that there's an opportunity and a responsibility for you to nourish it and take care of it the best you can. And one of the things, and as we go through this, a lot of these are going to roll back up to brain, because that's kind of the modality that I come from, is developing brain perspective. And so some of these will all connect in. Rewire for positive. I want to put that out there. Rewire for positive. Touched on it a little bit in part 1. But the reality is that your brain has the negativity bias, which means you're going to be on alert and lookout for the things that will cause you harm. Your brain's designed to keep you safe, to keep you alive, to keep you well. And so it's looking, it's like, that's not good. Nope, that's going to hurt me. I want to do that. That's scary. That's risky. I shouldn't do that. So your brain is finding all those things. And that's okay, because it's designed to do that. And then we get into a world that's a little extra chaotic, a little extra, you know, unsettled. And so our brain gets a little more aware of that. A little hypervigilance comes in. And then if you have trauma or you know, unsafe environments and things of that nature, again, another level of hypervigilance, because your brain's going to protect you. It's doing what it needs to keep you alive. So we have to come against that. We have to come against that normal process and bring in that positivity, bring in that ability, train our brain not to just always find negative stuff, but to go, okay, that's negative, but look at this. This is a positive thing. This is a good thing. Hey, this is kind of cool. I like this thing. And so if we develop that and bring that process in, then we get a healthier balance. So what does that look like? Application opportunity. I'll often have clients, students that you can, as you go to bed at night, as you you know, sort of give yourself, I hate to use the word pop quiz, but it's like, all right, 5 things that were good today. And so you got to think back and you go, well, you know, I didn't get in trouble, or I got to school on time, or nobody made fun of me, or maybe those weren't options. Maybe all those were bad. Then we can go, okay, well, I got to eat today. You know, I've got a bed to lay down in. You know, hey, I got an extra day on that homework assignment. these are things that we can bring into our positivity bucket that kind of helps balance that. Now, I always say that we don't want to deny the negative stuff because that's realism. And so we've got to acknowledge the fact that we got to acknowledge our emotions that, yeah, that makes me sad or that makes me scared. Those are okay things. And we have to acknowledge that. But we got to make sure we're bringing enough positivity so that we've got a good balance there. And I mentioned last time that negativity bias is kind of out of whack. I think it's like 6-to-1 or 10-to-1, depending on kind of what you're dealing with. So it takes a lot of positivity. And here's the cool thing about like the pop quiz at night. What happens is we're training our brain, think brain growth and brain awareness. Throughout the day, our brain's going to start going, oh man, when I go to bed tonight, I'm going to have to come up with 5 things. Or, hey, when I go to my therapist next week, I got to come up with, make sure I did those 5 things. So throughout the day, we start paying attention to, hey, I could use that tonight. I can use that tonight. Ooh, that was a good thing. So we're training our brain to find those positive things. So a good exercise for you to do. So if you've got a friend, parent, family, somebody you feel comfortable talking with, do this with them. You know, Alicia and I have great conversations in that area. It's like, hey, that was kind of a cool thing. I just shared with her. Technology kind of messed up, you know, it happened. Well, my positivity was I was all worried about my time frame, making sure I was done on time. It's like, well, I got a lot of grace there because we just kind of started on a different foot. So that was my positivity. I just found it in there. I was a lot more relaxed. We were a lot more relaxed coming into this, smiling, and it was a positivity for me. We do that as we go through the day. It's just a positivity mindset. So finding that positivity throughout the day is a good thing. The other thing that comes out of this rewire for positivity is we have become, I don't want to say a culture or a generation or society, but we have a tendency to only celebrate the big things. So, hey, we got married. Hey, we graduated. Hey, you know, whatever. But we lose sight of the daily things that are in there. And so we kind of live a meh life. Okay. You guys have used that word, meh, how was school? Meh. Okay. Well, I bet there were at least 2 or 3 positive, good things in there, but we just kind of go, meh. And then bam, somebody asked me out. Bam, I got accepted to this. These are these big things that we celebrate, but everything else, we're just kind of meh. So find those things, find those little Easter eggs, find those nuggets of positivity and happy and joy throughout the daily routines of life. And it will be overall a much more positive experience that you are living in. You'll see things a little differently as you look at it that way. So that was kind of beating up on that one a little bit. Okay, still in brain. Let's talk about order and patterns. Our brain is designed to and will find order. It will find patterns, or at least try to. It will see something and then associate it with something else. It'll figure things out. It'll solve the problem. It will naturally do that, okay? So if we're living in 100% chaos, it's a lot of mental real estate. That's a word we use, mental real estate. That's a lot of energy being used up. If there's anything in there that we can put order to, that we can create pattern and structure to, then it's going to free up our brain to deal with that stuff that will always come at us chaotically. There's always going to be that. But man, if we know, hey, dinner's going to be at 5:30. This is when I'm going to do my homework. This is what's happening this weekend. I know what next week looks like. I'll be done with this by this. They told me they were going to do this and they did this. Anything that we can create structure and order around lets our brain go, this is safe and comfortable. I'll set that over here and I'll put my energy towards these things that I have to focus on. Unfortunately, many of us are living in this environment where there's just unsettledness, uncertainty. Part of what's going on in the world right now with COVID and things of that nature is like there's a lot of chaos. Find the structure that you can, find that comfort level that we can go, okay, this is good. I can trust this to happen. I know when that's going to happen. I don't have to worry about when breakfast is or when dinner is or when my homework's due. I know that. Now I can focus on this energy over here. So order and pattern just helps our brain deal with the life that we have to deal with. All right, safety, limbic system, kind of a combo conversation. Real quick look at the brain. If you've not seen this little diagram, here's your hand. This is what we would call the reptilian brain. It looks at, this is just the stuff, the brain stem. This is our breathing, heartbeat, things that we don't think about. They're just happen, our autonomic stuff. As you get into the middle brain, this is now our limbic system. This is the amygdala, the hippocampus, emotions and memories and things of that nature. As teenagers, as students, as children, you're dealing with this a lot. This is where fears and thoughts and emotions come from. Our thoughts and our logic is up here in the prefrontal cortex. So we've got the reptilian brain, the limbic brain, and then the prefrontal cortex, the executive functioning up here. And this is there, but it's not quite as developed. 25 is the age they give for this to be fully developed. So a lot of the life that you're living, that our students are living in, is limbic. And so what'll happen in many times is that the brain will kind of get limbic hijacked is a word that has been thrown around, or a phrase. So the limbic system kind of hijacks, and it's all in this mindset of fear and fight, flight, or freeze. The sympathetic nervous system is going on. So it's really important for us to have a place of safety. Safety where your brain doesn't have to be in that fight, flight, or freeze. So it doesn't have to be in limbic hijack. This is safe. This is a safe relationship. This is a safe situation. This is a safe environment. So safety lets our limbic system go, I'm okay, I'm gonna shut down a little bit. And then we can process things. We can think calmly. So if you are a provider of safety, I would say provide safety. If you are a student in need of safety, I would say find safety. It may not be at your home. I hope that it is. It may not be right now. It may be that it's with a teacher. It may be with a coach. It may be that it's with a counselor or a healthy group of friends, a grandparent. Maybe there's a clergy member or somebody in your social connection group that would be a safe place for you to sit for a minute, share, logically process, think through things, and let that limbic system kind of calm itself. We are living again in a world of fight, flight, or freeze, and cortisol is pumping. Our body is just limbic hijack. So safety is an important thing. Maslow's hierarchy of needs, bottom one, safety. Safety. That's the focus as we're dealing with life. So if you're, again, a provider, provide it. If you are in need of it, find it. It's critical. So safety. Exercise. Yeah, this thing comes up in probably every presentation ever given. Exercise kind of just always sneaks up on us, but it's really important for the brain. It does a lot of things. I won't go into super deep detail, some for time and some for knowledge, but I do know that, as we exercise, a number of things happen. Number one, it gets the blood flowing, and that blood carries oxygen to the brain. It's what the brain needs for healthy development, healthy growth, and to be who we want the brain to be. So exercise is important for that. It also releases endorphins. It does things with your neurotransmitters. So exercise is important for that. Exercise it gives you a sense of confidence. I've done this thing. I've accomplished this thing. It just makes our body feel better. From a somatic aspect, it just makes us, our brain says, wow, we've worked out, we feel better about ourselves. So exercise is important in that area. The other thing that's cool about exercise, and I'm not talking about going to the gym and getting all buff, and you can do that if that's your thing. Really talking about movement to some degree. We want to push our body a little bit, get that blood flowing and the heart rate up a little bit so that there's some growth and development there. But walking, dancing, yoga, skating, bicycling, martial arts. There's all sorts of things that you as students can get involved in that just get your body moving. And so I would highly encourage you to do that. And then also, a movement aspect, proprioception sense that our body, when it feels us moving, sometimes you might notice when you go for a walk or you ride your bike, or maybe when you're in your car with your parents, that you have a tendency to process and communicate more. Our body says we're moving, and it generates this sense of creativity and freedom that goes on. So something you might try. Many times, creative ad agencies or designers or writers, they'd be kind of in this block. They'll get up and walk. Many meetings are taken walking and just kind of getting the blood flowing, and the brain kind of goes into this mode of processing and dealing with stuff. So that movement is really important. So I want to throw that out there. There are those in the mental health industry that would communicate that mental health is really a physical problem. So a lot of it starts from us not being in the shape that we need to be in, and we're not keeping our brain healthy. We're not keeping our body healthy. And so something to consider, blood flow, inflammation from the foods we eat. We talked about that a little bit. Eating the wrong foods that our body doesn't like creates inflammation. Well, that also happens in the brain, which can be an issue. Head traumas, toxins, all of those things are physical things that manifest in some challenges with the way we think and process stuff. You know, when I was younger, a story that comes to mind for me, I used to play a little bit more golf with my dad, and I would often line up and I would hit the ball. And he would kind of, you know, go, well, little jab, he goes, looks like it went right where you aimed it. And it wasn't that there was a big slice, it wasn't anything, it was just that I lined up wrong. And so I think, and again, I'm talking to a whole gamut of people here, so whether this is applicable to you or not, many times our brain is taking us exactly where we have lined it up to go. And so thinking through that process, we have the opportunity to make sure that it's as healthy as it can be and make sure that it's taking us where we want it to take us. So final thought on this, when I was younger, you guys, depending on who's hearing this, may or may not connect to this, but technology came out with this amazing thing back in the day. It was the little Tamagotchi doll, and it was a little digital thing that if you took care of it, if you fed it, it would be healthy. And so I often think about that as, you know, how is your Tamagotchi doll doing? For my kids, it was the Nintendogs when they first came out. They love taking care of the dogs, and oh my gosh, I've got to get home and take care of the dogs and that kind of stuff. So we have that same opportunity in our brain to take care of it, to make sure that it's as healthy as it can be. So I put that out there. B is for brain is the first one. And again, as we go through these others, many of them will feed back up to this conversation. Okay, let's look at the next B, and this B is for balance. Balance. Our brains, our bodies need rest, cycle, focus and unfocus, this dynamic. And we often don't give that to it. We're just going. We are a society of go, 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 whether we're working or we're learning or we're playing or we're creating or we're whatever we're doing, we're just go, 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 go. And we need to breathe, and we need to relax, and we need to take some time off, and we need to manage ourselves in a more healthy way. And so what does that look like? A couple of things that come to mind for me. Social media, there could be a whole talk. I'm not the one necessarily to give it on the impact of social media, but I think all could understand that social media has an impact on the way we see life and the way we deal with situations and understand things. So I'm not here to tell you not to be on social media. It is a way of life. What I am asking in communicating is that there's balance there. There's balance there. Give yourself balances. I'm going to give it 2 hours today, or I'm going to be off of it for a day or a week or whatever works for you. So we have to look at that and go, there has to be balance in our life. Because if we're out of whack and we've got, you know, all of this social media and none of this other stuff that we're going to talk about, then we're not being a very balanced person, and our brain's going to get kind of lopsided. It's like the guy that goes to the gym all the time and he only does legs and he looks really kind of out of whack because he's got tiny little arms and big legs, because there's not balance there. We've got to think of it in a balanced way. So social media just needs to be managed. And the same thing with activities. I know that there's this fear of missing out. It's a challenge for us, and it causes us to really push ourselves beyond what's healthy for us. So we need to be able to be comfortable saying, I'm not going to go do that thing, but thank you for asking me. I'm not going to sign up for that. Or, hey, this week I just need to take some time off and do some rest in my cycle. And so activities are something that can really overwhelm a person, overwhelm a brain. We can't process all of this. I need to detox a little bit. And then friends, and this is challenging because I know that connection is so important, relationships are so important, but there is this need for balance to where not all friends are healthy. Some are toxic. Some we need to step away from for a little while. See how we feel when we're not in that relationship. Okay, let's re-engage. Maybe we re-engage a little bit, but not as much as we were. Maybe there's opportunity for other friends to connect. Or even if it's a great friend group, there's still that activity management of, hey guys, I appreciate so much. You guys are so valuable to me. I just need to chill tonight, and I'll catch up with you next week or tomorrow or whatever the case may be. So we have to live in that balance and give our bodies the, you know, let's go and then let's rest. Let's go and then let's rest. You know, we have sleep cycles. We have weeks, we have months, we have years that are all built on this cycle, and we don't live that way. We just go, and then we're burned out. We can't manage everything, and our schedule is overwhelming, and our life is overwhelming. So I really want to push balance to you. So I've kind of said this already, but I wanted to make it a specific point, just to challenge and encourage and empower, give you permission to do what's right for you. I haven't mentioned Hannah in a while. She's our daughter. And one of the things for her, it was really getting to be okay saying that this is not healthy for me. And I'm okay with that. And I got to take care of me. You know, as you get older, depending again who I'm talking to, as you get older, there's really this development. I work with teenagers where it's like, I really want you to be able to make choices for you. You're a senior now, you're a junior now, you're heading off to college now. You know, you're going to have to make choices for you. And so I want to empower you to go, you know what, that's not healthy for me. This is not the right thing for me to do. And now I'm looking out for me. And that's something that I want to give you. For her, it was, you know, class choices. We had to look at this. We helped her through this process. And, you know, she didn't take AP math. She could have, but she took on level. And, you know, there's a different dynamic in on level math. And that was okay. It was okay. And she had to set all her friends were in AP math, but it was okay. And so things like that, that really kind of rocked the boat and, you know, kind of turned over the apple cart and kind of, you know, were just crazy, things. It's okay. She did what was right for her. So I just empower you as students to do that. Now, there are things that we have to push through. We have to have some wisdom on what's right for you. And we can't use that as, I don't want to do that, I don't want to do that, I don't want to do that. We got to do certain things. But there are also choices that we have in there that maybe this is not the healthiest thing for me to do. Maybe I don't need to sign up for that other after school activity. Maybe that's not the healthiest thing for me. Or maybe I need to be a part of it, but not be the leader of it. Even though everybody thinks I should, and this would get a lot of affirmation, probably not the healthiest thing. So I want to make sure you balance. There are things that you need to do and you have the responsibility to do, even though you may not feel like they're right for you. But there are many things that you have choices on that you I want to empower you to feel comfortable making the choice, and it doesn't lessen who you are or cause problems in that way. So do what's right for you. One of the things for me, I think that's my last bullet point. Yeah. So one of the things for me, like what I need is, you know, I work with clients all the time, story after story after story, families, dynamics, and challenges, and all this kind of stuff, which is wonderful. But one of the things that's right for me, and I look at my wife and laugh, is it's really not sitting down when I get home and watching TV dramas, because that's what I do all day. So for me, I'm gonna go do a crossword, or I'm gonna go balance the budget, or I'm gonna do something that takes me away from those kinds of dramas and relationships. You know, those aren't necessarily, catch me in the right mood, aren't necessarily the things I go to every day to make me healthy. I have to disconnect a little bit. So again, that's me, what's right for me. I've got to go look at some linear engineering kind of stuff to kind of get away from that for a while. That's just an example that came to mind for me as I look at me finding balance in my life. If it was drama here, drama there, drama here, drama there, then there's a good chance that I'm gonna, you know, kind of burn out a little bit. So that's what I do for me. All right, B is for bedtime. Yeah, everybody's gonna love to talk about this one. It's a sore spot for everyone. Sleep is so important. So important. I have learned more about sleep in the last year than I realized I would. It was a good book. Why We Sleep, Matthew Walker. It's really amazing if you want to read it, if it's something that interests you. If it's not, then don't, and it'll be boring for you. But I loved it. It was really kind of eye-opening for me, and some of the stuff will come out of that. A lot more detail in his book than what's going to come out of my mouth. But sleep is important. Here's a few reasons for it. If you wake up and you're not rested, you didn't get enough sleep, you're going to be kind of grumpy. You're going to not be able to process things well. And your negativity mechanism that we talked about earlier, that bias, is going to become a defense mechanism on heightened alert. Your hypervigilance comes up. Think about, man, if I'm tired and I can't respond well, I'm going to make sure I'm looking at everything. And then I'm going to respond poorly because I'm not processing right. So this is a critical thing for us to pay attention to, is that we truly respond to life differently when we don't have sleep. And you're like, no duh. Okay, yeah, I get that, but we got to talk about it because it's really critical for the way we live life. We have to get enough sleep to process the day and the things that come at us and respond in a healthy way. If you're rested, you had a good night's sleep, you're like, yes, that's fine. I don't care that it was late. Yes, that's great because you're feeling better. But if you're not, then you're dealing with stuff. And if we do that chronically, then we're just, one, having relational challenges and life challenges. Two, we're developing a brain that thinks that way. So we've got to focus on making sure we get enough sleep. Okay, so there's a fun little word called the glymphatic system. So it's lymphatic, but there's a glymphatic in front of it, glim in front of the lymphatic. Glymphatic, I should have typed it in there, but I like just kind of pulling it out of nowhere. The glymphatic system, what it does is our brain, when we go to sleep, it shrinks ever so slightly. And then there's actually the cerebral spinal fluid that is in our brain and spine and everything. It washes out the B-amyloid proteins that are basically toxic thoughts. So there's a true cleansing of our mind when we sleep at night. And depending on how much sleep we get is how much of a washing machine cycle we give ourselves, if you will. So it's just a fascinating thing. Look it up, read about it. It's kind of a fun thing to think about. The glymphatic system is giving us a toxic thought bath, if you will, when we go to sleep, if we get to sleep that we need. Fun little fact. Okay, I like talking about non-REM and REM sleep. Now you've probably heard of this if you took a health class. Maybe you haven't. Non-REM, REM is rapid eye movement. It's the, where our eyes are, we're sleeping and we've got this rapid eye movement going on. Non-REM is when it's not doing that. Two parts of our sleep. Here's what's interesting. We sleep in cycles. You may know this. I'm just going to say it anyways. We sleep in approximately 5 90-minute cycles. So we do the math on that. It's about 8 hours. Okay, this varies based on age and what have you, and personalities and genetics. But generally speaking, we talk in 8 hours, 5 90-minute cycles. In each of those cycles, there's a non-REM and a REM. Non-REM, REM. Okay, here's where it gets interesting. The front end of this is heavy non-REM. You're out. Okay? And it's non-REM, a little bit of REM. Then cycle 2, non-REM, a little bit more REM. Cycle 3, we start getting more REM, still not much. Cycles 4 and 5 are REM heavy. Okay, so that's interesting. Here's why it's interesting. Now, if you read the book, there's a lot more detail about different variations of non-REM. I'm talking in some generalities here just to get the point across. If you sleep for 8 hours, you're getting all of that. If you're sleeping for only 6 hours, you always start at the beginning. We start at the beginning. You only get 6 hours. You're not getting the bulk of the REM sleep. You're not getting the bulk of it, the dreaming and all of this kind of stuff. And here's why that's relevant. The non-REM's purpose is to prune and organize our thoughts. So we're dealing with stuff and it's like, oh, that was a thought about, math, and that was a thought about, our boyfriend, and this was a thought about, that trauma that happened at school today, and oh, this is a family thought, and this was a food thought. And so it's organizing. It's like, you haven't thought about that in 5 years. We're going to kind of let that one drift away. Non-REM is doing all of that. REM sleep is about making sense. It's about processing. It's about processing these thoughts. And so what it's doing is going, there's that emotion that was wrapped around this thing that happened at lunch. Let me make sense of that. Oh, okay. And now we've processed it and it's not traumatic anymore or as much, and it can find an adaptive part of the brain. If we're only getting 6 hours of sleep, we're missing a good portion of the REM sleep that allows us to process these thoughts. So you would normally wake up in the morning, you rest, you go, I feel better. Because our brain, our body is designed to do these things. We always talk about, let's sleep on it. We'll feel better in the morning. Well, we will, because there's a true process that's going on in our body if we let it do what it's designed to do. Again, 6 hours, we're chopping off a big piece of that. That's a challenge. I'm concerned about that. I do my best to get as much sleep as I'm needing at my age and what have you. So that's a fun conversation I like to have with people. I usually kind of poorly draw it on my board back there and talk about it. So if you are 6 to 13 years, if you're a middle school, you're looking at 9 to 10 hours. It's actually more. Your brain is developing. You got a lot of stuff to deal with and process and grow, and all this stuff is going on. So 9 to 10 hours is really ideal for a 6 to 13-year-old. 14 to 17, it's about 8 to 10. It's actually, more than. And many of you are probably looking at that going, there's no way. I go to bed at 1 and I get up at 6 to get to school on time. And so you're getting 5 hours. You're getting half of what you need. This is affecting us. It's affecting us as a generation, as a society in reality. And we start looking at, the me population that's aging and getting into our senior years, and we're realizing what's going on with all of that. So sleep is important. I know that life fights against this. This is not what society believes and what society promotes or does, and the systems don't help this. So I really just kind of promote, know about it, do what you can, but focus on consistency and quality. So you may only get 6 hours of sleep. If that's what you do, then I would say do your best to get it every night at the same time, so that your body knows, this is sleep time, this is sleep time, this is processing time, this is what I'm doing. It knows what you're doing. If it's sometimes here and sometimes here and sometimes here and sometimes here, then your body's all over the place. We go back to order and structure, and it's like it needs to know where the cycle is. We're pretty adaptable to some degree, but we need to know what we're adapting to. So do your best to get consistency, and then quality. There's all sorts of conversation about sleep hygiene. We can talk about, are you preparing for bed appropriately? Are you doing homework, gaming, boom, get in bed. Yeah, you're probably not going to go to sleep. And even if you do, your brain's not going to shut off for a while, because your brain's like, I'm still thinking, what's going on? Your body's dead tired, but your brain's going all over the place because it's still building something or fighting something or processing something. So we need that. Okay, now our body goes, good, let's go to sleep time. I'm going to shut everything off because it knows that. So quality is important. Is the room dark? Is it cool? Our body temperature actually drops right before you go to bed. So keeping it cool helps it stay in that sleep mode. If it's too hot, then it's going to disrupt our sleep process. Noises, those kinds of things. So think about quality and consistency. Sleep is important. I love it. I probably talk too much about it. I love it too. I actually love it, and I love talking about it. So there we go. All right. The next B, I kind of stretched this a little bit to get the B word in there, but behold. Behold. I'm going to talk a little bit about mindfulness, and I don't want it to be a word that scares anybody off as new agey or weird or anything of that nature, because I know it's been abused and misrepresented and misspoken and all this kind of stuff. What mindfulness is really all about is being present, being 100% present, mostly present, very aware of what you're experiencing at the moment. What mindfulness does is it helps us not worry about the future, helps us not worry about the past, but just to be present in the moment that we're enjoying right now. And hopefully we are enjoying it. And so as I sit here and I, drink this coffee, a mindfulness drinking of the coffee would be kind of sitting and feeling it, noticing the tactility of it. Is that a word? The feeling, and going, yeah, I love the feeling of this. The warmth, and just really noticing the warmth. And then as I drink it, just noticing how it feels going in and being very, very present. My guess is, not to call anybody out, that many of you are probably scrolling through Facebook as you listen to this boring presentation, or you are looking at something over there. Maybe the TV is even on in the background. We are a society that several years ago, somebody said multitasking is amazing. Now we're sitting here realizing that multitasking is not amazing. It's very damaging for us, and it doesn't help our relationships. It doesn't help us do things well. It just lets us do a lot of things less well. And that's not necessarily a good thing. So mindfulness is being 100% present. I'm having a conversation with somebody, I'm there, and I'm focused on that. And I'm enjoying that moment. I'm enjoying what's there. I'm finding those positives we talked about. I'm going, this is such a blessing for me to sit here and have dinner with my son. I love the fact that we're having dinner with my son. I'm loving this meat that my wife cooked. This is great. We were Saturday night at our son's house and his wife, and I was trying to put these, and I don't do this well. I'm just communicating this as a tool, not like, hey, I've mastered this. And so I try to incorporate it into my own life. And because I'm a doer, I'm a goer, I have to slow down and focus. So we're having dinner, and she made a pie. It was amazing caramel salted pie. And I'm like, I'm going to eat this mindfully. And it was a slower process, and I was focused on the pie. And that sounds silly, but that's what we're talking about. And then I'm like, okay, I taste the caramel, it's really good, and the salt, but there's something else. And I'm like, it's a little sweet. So there's a salt and a sweet. And then there was the crust and the texture of the crust, and all of that experience. How does that make me feel? And then just kind of enjoying the chatter that's going back between my daughter and her boyfriend, and my son and his wife, and all of that going on. So just being very present and being mindful of what's going on. And so you can apply that to anything. You can apply that to your homework that you're doing. There's Snapchat here, and there's homework here, and there's the movie going on here, and our brain's going, being mindful. Now, I will tell you, this is like pulling teeth, because we're so designed to do all of this stuff. We almost need it to keep us occupied. We're a lot of us living in this scattered world. So it's not going to be, hey, I'll do it tomorrow and it's amazing. again, it's a developing this skill set in the brain. It's going to take a while. Try it every once in a while, try it regularly, try it often. So work into that. But it changes the way you experience life. If you are mindful of what you are doing, you're focused in the now. We're not worrying about that. We're not worrying about that. We're focused on what we have right here. And so mindfulness is a very powerful opportunity. Meditation. Another word that often elicits concern and fear in people's world, different religious beliefs and backgrounds and things of that nature. I'm taking it from a purely scientific neurological aspect of this is an opportunity for our brain to calm down, to sit and meditate and focus on what you choose to focus on. I'm not going to take you anywhere you don't want to go. I want you to focus on what you want to focus on. It may be a mantra that you have. I am lovable and capable. And I'm going to sit here and I'm going to think about that. And I'm just going to be very present with myself. And I'm going to just sit, breathe deeply, help our body calm down. We don't do this. Again, we're running. We don't have the breaks. We don't have the cycles. We're running. So to give yourself, whether it be weekly or nightly, just this opportunity for your body to calm down, calm yourself down. And again, you give yourself what you want to focus on. If you have a religious belief, maybe there's something in there that you can focus on. If you're a sports person, and I think about like those sayings that are above the door that you kind of kiss on the way out, focus on that thing. Let's focus on that and just let that kind of wash over us, if you will. And then just notice yourself, notice your body relax and breathe, and just let your body focus on that thing and calm itself down. Meditation not only comes alongside, we have the sympathetic nervous system that is the fight, flight, or freeze, and it's, we're pumping cortisol and we get excited. The parasympathetic nervous system, comes alongside the sympathetic and calms it down. Meditation does that. It's our body saying, look, I'm not freaking out. It's okay, brain. Calm down. Stop pumping the cortisol. It's okay. Look at us. Look how calm we are. And it comes along and it communicates. This is our body telling our brain. We spend a lot of time with our brain telling our body. Now we go into a mode where our body tells our brain what to do. We have this vagus nerve system that's actually a two-way street. We always focus on this down. We need to focus on this up many times. So meditation does that. Also, we go back to brain development. Studies show that it actually helps brain development, a connection between the left and right hemispheres. So there's stuff going on there as well. So I throw meditation out as just a healthy thing to do, just to give your body that time to calm down. Maybe it's that ramp up to bedtime thing that you do, just to calm yourself down and let yourself get ready for sleep. Nature. Behold the nature that is out there. Man, this is killing us right now. We're not even getting to go out very much. We're locked in our rooms. I sit in my office. There's no windows. I got a big tree picture over here to do the best I can. Getting out and beholding nature is a powerful thing for a number of reasons. There are studies that actually show that being in nature boosts the killer cells being the cells that improve our immune system. So getting out and touching a tree, going for a walk, sitting in the grass, observing the birds, all of these things are beneficial for our brain and our body. And so I would challenge you to get out. It's pure, it's non-judgmental. There's no drama. It's just you experiencing, again, an opportunity for mindfulness. Maybe you do that and just sit and notice the tree, some detail that you hadn't noticed before. Be very present and just focus on the here and now. So nature is really important. I think about the vitamin D boost. In the part one, we talked about nutrients and how that affects the body. It's a great source of vitamin D if it's sunny and you're getting that. We don't get out enough. We don't get enough vitamin D. Most of us are deficient in vitamin D. We talked about supplements, but it definitely helps. And you just feel better when you go out and spend some time in the sun. Go outside and play. I probably shouldn't have said that. Everybody just shut down. You've heard that for a million years. Go outside and play. It's a different world. We have to force that. Go for a walk. Go to the park. I've got kids that sit here. Some of you maybe that you got all this space, and then you got some that tell me that their backyard's a postage stamp. Okay, go sit in the postage stamp. There's grass in there, or there's a flower in there. Notice the flower, touch the tree, look up, look out the window. Do what you can to just experience nature as often as you can, because it's a really powerful healing thing, and it just really helps us be present in the blessings that we have. All right, and then the last one, and this one is visualize. Visualization is a technique that athletes use. Olympic athletes use this visualization of seeing yourself being successful. What will I do when that moment comes? Let me walk through that. Not just stop and fear it, but let's visualize us being successful all the way through it. If that comes to me, I see myself having a good response to it, pushing through and getting it done. Let's visualize that over and over again. Let's let our brain know that this is what we're going to do. Interesting that our brain actually has trouble, has difficulty deciphering between, did that happen or did I just think about that? How many of us have had this thought of, did I do that or did I just think about that or did I dream about that? That can actually get into our mind. And so by letting our brain have this pattern, let's visualize us having success. It goes, hey, I know how to do this. I'm not concerned when I get to that pop quiz or that relational conflict or that challenging situation because I've been through this. So brain kind of just does what we've told brain to do. So it's a really cool opportunity. Again, you try this tomorrow, it doesn't work, don't throw it out. This is a skill that has to be developed and learned. People use this. So behold that positive scenario. Visualize what you want to be, what you want to do, and how you want to accomplish it. It's not going to be perfect. You probably mess up the first time. That's okay. Keep doing it. Keep visualizing it. Say, when I get there, I'm going to do this. Visualization is very powerful. All right. Question break. That's the text I got.
Are there any questions? And you can unmute if you would like.
Yes. Hi.
Hello.
Hi. My name is Haybet, and I have a 3-year-old. And I see everything you're saying, and they sound wonderful. My question is, how do I apply all of that to a 3-year-old who is not very verbal right now, and his way of communicating is more of tantrums and screaming to get his point across, and it's hard to, at the moment of, you know, at the moment, at the heat of the moment of everything, to hold things or help remember all of this information, to calm him down, to apply what we are hearing right now to the situation.
Okay, thank you. Good question. Let me come at it, maybe not through some of these, but let me just answer the question. What I hear is two things come to mind for me. One is he is communicating, as you mentioned, non-verbally, but he's communicating through his language, through his behavior and things of that nature. And so you providing the safest place that you can is important. Meeting him where he's at, letting him know that things are okay. But here's a picture that is really good for, I think it works for 3-year-olds, and I think it works for relationships in general. If you've got a limbic hijack situation, if you've got someone who's elevated, if we come in elevated also with limbic, with emotions, then what this limbic system says is, this is not a safe environment. They don't understand me. They don't get me. This is not safe. And that's what they're looking for, safety. So what they're going to do is go up, and then you're going to go up, and then they're going to go up. And next thing you know, we've got, a blow up or what have you. So if they're coming in very limbically, excuse me, I did that wrong. Rewind that a little bit. If you're coming in here logically and telling them that they don't need to be upset, it's okay, don't be scared, it's okay, it's okay. It sounds all nice and loving. But what happens is they're feeling this is not safe. They don't get me. They don't know what I'm going through. They don't understand what I'm experiencing. And so they get more limbically charged. What we need to do, is come in where they're at. And so we're like, yeah, this is, I understand how this can be challenging for you. I can understand how this is a frustrating situation. I can understand that this is probably a challenging spot for you. And so then when they feel heard and understood, then you're going to help them regulate and bring them down. So then your body becomes very important in communicating to them how they should respond to this situation. So to recap, because I screwed that up, if you come in and try to explain to a limbic hijacked brain, they're not going to hear anything. They're just going to feel unsafe. If you come in and understand them and validate them, and yes, this is scary, oh my goodness, this is probably a big day for you, then they're going to feel understood. And then you bring them down in your own emotional regulation. So that's one thing to throw your way. Again, it depends on the maturity of your 3-year-old and how that works. The other piece of that is, just like he doesn't communicate verbally, he's communicating by behavior and things of that nature. Many times we forget that we are also communicating non-verbally. So as we look at these things of positivity and calmness and things of that nature, is we're communicating to him daily, is life safe? Is life scary? He's reading that in your body language as you go through life. So doing what you can to implement these things so that you are communicating to him just by, is this a frantic life that we live in? Are we getting this? We got to get home. We got to get out the car. This is a chaotic place for him. I don't know if that's your world or not. Yeah. And then my wife's going to come in here and give me wisdom, because that's always beneficial.
No.
That's good. I like that.
Okay, am I on here?
Yeah, sorry.
So I'll put on this is my teacher hat being put on, and I'm not sure, I was sitting over there if I completely understood the question, but I think with it being a 3-year-old, and if you're maybe asking also, how can you incorporate like mindfulness, meditation, nature, helping a 3-year-old who maybe isn't completely verbal, utilize some of that for a calming method? Is that?
Yes. So my struggle is that most days, almost every day, we have a situation where he's unhappy, whether I'm turning the TV off or saying, hey, it's dinner time. That's the simplest thing. And he just goes into screaming match because he doesn't want to move on to dinner. Let's go wash hands. And I clean it up very gentle. Hey, it's time to go to dinner. Let's wash our hands, please. Show me how big a boy you are. Let's wash our hands to go to dinner. But it's he's not responding well. And so I try to calmly say that again and try to do it. But we have moments like that a lot. And I don't know how to incorporate all of that to help him.
So, and Christina can jump in here also, but my thought on somebody that age and just kind of incorporating some calming activities would be to pull in almost like little picture choices for that a 3-year-old could understand, as far as like a picture of something outside. So if he needs to calm down, maybe a picture of outside for 5 minutes would be a calming choice for him. Or mindfulness for a 3-year-old could be just sitting and let's blow our hands up like a balloon together, little simple things like that, but some picture choices of calming strategies and giving him, oh yeah, Jody just handed me this, all kinds of little fun calming strategies for kids, for adults, but some pictures of things that can be, oh, I see you're upset right now. What would help you feel better? A picture of the backyard, a picture of breathing like a balloon, visualizing maybe one of his favorite stuffed animals, hugging it really tight because pressure is a really calming thing. So Christina, that's kind of, I don't know, the first thing that comes to my mind for a 3-year-old, and just some calming choices, because mindfulness, all that's kind of a little over their head. Do you have anything to add to that? Or
well, I first of all, brilliant. Yes, Jody. Yes. Everything is great advice. I think the biggest piece of advice I'd give you, Mom, is I promise it's going to get better. So 3 is hard, period. And so depending on if there's any extra circumstances that are going on, like your sweet baby not being nonverbal at the moment, it's going to get better and it's going to get easier. And the more, like Jody said, I learned this a little later than I wish I would have, but I always recommend to assume competency. And that's like a big inclusion special ed word. That means always assume your kid knows, because for a while I didn't assume that my kid knew. And it changed the dynamic of our relationship, and it changed my ability to empathize with his situation. So when he was younger and he was like out of control and he was throwing a fit, I didn't realize that he was communicating with me in the only way that he knew how. So I want you to know that number one, it's going to get better. I swear, I promise it will get better. And number two, he is communicating with you in the only way he knows how. So if you have the opportunity, and it's not going to happen every day, and that's okay. You just do the best you can, but try to notice the things that are happening before the situation, during the situation, and after the situation. Because then you can kind of take that information and say, ooh, wait a second, he doesn't like to stop watching TV. And then we all have 100 million strategies that we can use and we can share with you on how to get him to transition away from the TV back to the dinner, to the dinner table and have his hands washed. So we can do a lot of work on that. The hard part as the mom, as he's growing and you're learning him and you're figuring all this out, is having that ability to stop and look at the situation and kind of piece it out. And then once you can figure out about what is happening, we can help you. You have a very large community in Keller ISD, and moms helping families, myself, any special education person you have that is in your life, any educator that's in your life, we can then problem solve it. We've all been through it. But I do want you to know that you're not alone. Okay, I saw the grocery store. You would love to take him to the grocery store. Girl, I hear you, I see you, I feel you. I didn't have Amazon Fresh when my son was young. So, here we are, I'm sweating and people are staring and he's upset. I really understand what you're saying. The more you can analyze the situation and figure out what he's trying to communicate to you, the better we can come up with these strategies. But I think what Jody and Alicia said too is perfect. It's a lot to remember tonight.
Yes.
But I'm excited for you that you're here and you're listening this. And I want you to know that we are here with you. You are definitely not alone.
Thank you so much.
And I promise it gets better. Maybe not tomorrow, but it will get better soon. I promise.
One more tool to throw your way that has benefited us. And again, your child is your child. You'll know the nuances and what works and doesn't work. But it seems to you that it's very simple comment. Hey, it's dinner time. I need you to come over here. He's in some world. So what we used often was, in 10 minutes, it's going to be dinner time. In 5 minutes, it's going to be dinner time. It's dinner time. And so it lets him, it's that structure. He knows it's coming. Because it seems very simple to you, but in his world, it's like, oh my gosh, you just ripped me out of here over to here, and I don't want to go here. So we would often say, hey, you got 5 more minutes to play ball or whatever, or, use a timer and he can see it going, whatever works, but that would just help them understand what's coming. And so they don't feel like they're getting ripped out of this magical world that they were engaged in. So hopefully that helps too.
Yes, that's very helpful. Thank you.
Thank you. Great question. Anybody else have a question? We can go ahead and move forward.
All
Thank
right.
you.
The last one that I have is blab. Again, just a stretch to get the word to start with a B. But here's what's important is as students, we have to express ourselves. We have to get the emotions out of us that we're feeling, and I guarantee you that you're feeling a lot of it. I work with adults that have been taught not to express themselves, and these things get stuck down in there, and then they erupt when they're 30, 40 years old or sooner. But we have to get that out of us. And I understand that not everyone lives in an environment where that's safe for them, that there's backlash or there's chastising or there's whatever in your environment. So it may be that it's a counselor conversation or a grandparent conversation or a healthy group of friend conversation or whomever in your life would be a safe place to share. You have to be careful and make sure that you are truly in a safe environment. You have challenges where you say something you didn't want to get out, which is why we promote counseling. But you have to get that out. The word emotion is Latin, comes from meaning to move, and so we say emotions need motions. Emotions not get dealt with in bodily ways through anger and addictions and things of that nature. So we have to get that out. I'm really sad about this. I'm really overwhelmed about this. And then let's figure out how to process those things. So express yourself is important. So what does that look like? For many people, I recommend that they journal. I mean, it's a very healthy way, especially putting it to paper and writing. There's this connection between the brain and the paper, and you're writing this out. So if that's something that you're inclined to do and you're willing to do, I would challenge you to journal daily, weekly, whatever works for you. Have it with you when something happens. You go, "Ooh, I need to write that down." Write that down. Art is another way. If journaling's not your thing, and I do have people journal, on their notes section on their phone or something of that nature. I try to get them away from the technology. I try to get them to write because there's just a better connection there. Art is powerful because it truly is us expressing ourselves. Here's the thing I say when we've got students that are doing art, and this works for the young kids as well. As a matter of fact, play therapy and activity therapy, that is the child expressing themselves because they don't have necessarily the language to synthesize everything. They're expressing through art. And then we can look at that and we can kind of see what's going on in their world. But if I've got a student in here, if you were in my office and we were talking about that, I would say, just create. Make sure that you're not focused on how it turns out. You're not going to show it to anybody. You're not going to brag about it. You're not going to judge yourself. The process of expression is what's important. So if you are inclined to do art, do art. Maybe it's a sculpture. Maybe it's not watercolors. Maybe it is. Maybe you're getting a pile of paper clips and you're building something because you're more into tactile sculpture than you are paint. Art, create, see what happens. Doodle, get that out, express yourself. Lyrics is another tool that I've used. Sometimes guys don't want to journal. It feels like a diary. Okay, I get it. But you can write a song. You can lay out the lyrics. I think about the great songs, 60s and 70s, where they're dealing with war and they're dealing with political unrest and they're dealing with angst and they write these amazing songs that are not replicated today because they were expressing their emotions and dealing with stuff. So lyric writing would be a powerful thing if that works for you. So again, just different ways to express yourself. You may have other things. I've got new people that did like creative dance expressing. So other opportunities are out there as well for that. Here's what's cool about it. When we do those things, it forces or allows, depending on how you look at it, our brain to formulate things, to organize and synthesize, and it all kind of comes together. I can't tell you how many counseling sessions where I've done very little, but just given the safe environment for the client to have conversation, and they're like, wow, I've never said that out loud before, or now that I say it that way, I see that blah, 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 blah. And so our brain has to take all of these things that are bouncing around in our head. We've got all this stuff going on, thoughts all over the place, experiences that we're having a hard time. Our brain has to take those things, make sense of it to some degree to get it to come out of our mouth. And there's like, oh my goodness, I just realized now that blah, blah, blah. I don't like authority, or blah, blah, blah. I don't like myself, or blah, blah, blah. I don't like my parents. I just realized that, whatever it may be, it helps their brain put it together. So there's a lot of value in getting them out. And again, I always push towards counseling is a great opportunity because of our safety, our guidelines that we have to kind of keep it in here, so that's a good thing. So B is for blab. Now, I do have a bonus. I don't know. Do I have time for a bonus? One thing that came to mind, B is for bonus. I had something I was working on. I had it in case we had time, but now that I've got it in
Yes,
there,
you have time.
I really wanted to do it. So this is like dialectical behavior therapy, a tool that came up that I've been using recently. I made a little diagram for it. So probably for older kids, but I just want to have it in your toolbox. It could be used for you as well. Use it with my adults. Picture yourself on this boat and you're going down this stream. You're floating down the stream, and it's taking you because you are proverbially in this boat without a paddle. You're just going down, and it's going where your stream of conscious is taking you because it's just going and you're floating down this. Now, if you had an oar, you could steer it. You could change it. You got an oar, you could direct where it goes. If you had two oars, then man, you'd probably even turn the thing around and go the other direction. It's going to take some work, but you could do it. But you've got oars to steer this boat. So take this metaphor and take the OAR and just turn it into an OR. Okay. So you have an oar. So for many of us that are stuck in these thoughts, negative thoughts, in these stream of consciousness to take us down negative paths, give yourself an oar. And then give yourself another oar and see where you can redirect yourself. Let your brain see that there are other options out there. So I didn't get invited to the party. They hate me. Boom, we're going down the stream. Or they didn't think you'd come, so they were embarrassed to ask you. Or they didn't have control over who got invited. there was a limited number. Or it's not good for you to go anyways because they're all going to get busted and it's better off you're not there. Or all of these ors just help our brain see that there are other possibilities out there. When I was younger, I don't know why this stuck in my head. Maybe it's so that I could use it many years later, but I was driving from my college dorm, I think I was, and I had a fishbowl on my console of my truck. And if anyone's ever tried to drive with a fishbowl, you have no idea how much motion that you don't realize is going on, and that water is going everywhere. And so I cannot tell you how slow I was driving. And I thought to myself, everybody behind me must be so angry at me. And I'll often tell myself, I go, or they're transporting a fishbowl, or their car's not working, or if you give yourself those options, it just helps our brain get out of that stream of consciousness that is taking us where it wants to go because of the way it's been developed. It's protecting us. It thinks it's doing the right thing. We have to teach it how to go down another channel, another path, another canal. So that was my bonus. B is for boat or bonus, or I don't know. So that was a thought that I had that I was going to throw in if I had time. And I don't really know how much time we have because I got all out of whack. So any more questions, any more thoughts? I'm open for the whole Q&A thing. And Alicia's here if you want to talk to her and get even better wisdom.
No questions? Well, Jody, I just want to let you and Alicia know we so appreciate this. Very helpful information. I know it was really geared towards students tonight, but there's a lot of good information here for adults too. And I just want to share with everybody just a little personal experience that I had the last couple of days. And I was able to use information for our last presentation. And talking to my daughter, she came to me a couple of days ago and said, "Mom, can I stay home?" And my reaction was, "Are you sick? Like, no, you need to go to school. You know, what's going on?" And she just looked at me and she's in 8th grade and has some anxiety. And she goes, "I don't have the words, but I just need some time to process things. I don't know. I just need some time to process. I can't explain it." And I just realized in the moment from our last session, our last training, I just was like, you know what, this is her. She doesn't have the words to explain it, but this is her saying, "I'm overwhelmed and I need time to take in everything that is needed right now." And so, you know, just really, really great information, Jody, and greatly, greatly appreciate it. And lots of thank yous coming in from the chat room. And we'll follow up. Christina and I will follow up with a couple of you that had questions tonight. And Alicia, did you have something else you wanted to say?
Nope, just was gonna
Nope.
say bye.
Okay, well then we're gonna end it there, guys, and I will send you guys the link for tonight's video. And thanks again for being being just so patient with us tonight with our technical difficulties. Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye.